Hey guys, so today I have perhaps my most exciting video I've ever made, probably because it's one of the most exciting topics to me, and it's something that I know quite a bit about, both academically, I studied this, and through my professional work in forensic psychology and my experience through that, and I'm going to share some stuff with you. So we're going to start with some high level, like basic understanding of expressions and body language, verbal linguistics, these sorts of things, how they play into effect and what they mean when people are demonstrating these and these different expressions and what they look like. So you can recognize what an expression looks like and what a person's really feeling, because what they're saying isn't necessarily what they're feeling, but what their face is doing is something that you can't create, you can't fake it, you can't cover it up, and everybody does it. So there's no covering this up. Everyone does it. We all do it no matter what. And I'm going to teach you about it. So then we're going to get into what's most exciting, and that's micro expressions, and how micro expressions can work in conjunction with linguistics, like neurolinguistics and body language, and when you combine these things together, how you can utilize what you're seeing and what you're hearing to sort of make a determination as to whether or not you believe someone is either lying or telling you the truth. So now that part of it gets foggy, it gets gray. There are some features to it that are very important, but we're going to get to that. But in order to get to that, I've got to teach you about the universal expressions first, and we've got to talk about some of the higher level understanding of the body language and the linguistics that are important features in these things, because the absence of all these things don't necessarily mean somebody's telling the truth or a lie, but the combination of them together is quite suggestive that they are being dishonest. So we're going to talk about it. I'm going to have to voice over most of this video because I'm going to show you some of these expressions and what they look like, and the only way to do that is to do it through showing you images, and then you will see me back and we'll talk about lying. I will see you guys shortly. Okay guys, so these are our 6 universal expressions. So they are anger, disgust, surprise, fear, happiness, or enjoyment in this image, but we generally refer to it as happiness as the major expression, and sadness. And here's some images. So this one's anger, and the features of anger, as you can see, are lowering of the brows, they're lowered, the lips are pressed firmly and tight together, and you'll see the eyes kind of have a bulging effect. And here's another example. This one's a little bit more dramatic. You can see the eyes more bulging here, but again, your lips are pressed firmly and you've got the brows like lowered and closer together. And it's a little easier to see here. The next one we're going to look at is disgust. This one's kind of obvious. You're going to see with disgust, the upper lip is raised, the nose bridge is wrinkled, those cheeks are raised. You're going to see those nasolabial folds are going to become very prominent because it's all about the center of the face when it comes to disgust. And here's another example. Again, same thing. Nasolabial folds, wrinkling of the nose. You're going to see those cheeks raised up a little bit, and there's your image of disgust. This one's really cute. The next one coming up. So we're going to talk about surprise next, and I'm going to show you with some little ones because this can't be faked. Surprise, you're going to see those brows, those arches are big, the eyes are wide open, and they're going to expose more whites of the eyes. The jaw is going to drop slightly. You'll see this with children of all ages, and I'm going to show you even with a baby who has no idea of faking an expression. The jaw is dropped, the eyes are widened, those eyebrows are nice, big, and round and arched. And that's your expression of surprise. And even with a baby, you can see it's natural, it's innate. You can't control these expressions. And now here's the same example with an adult. And I'm just showing you this because I showed you 2 kids and I didn't show you an adult yet. So here's an adult male. Again, you've got the nice bridged eyebrows, the widened eyes, the drop of the jaw. and it's all sort of universal. And these are why they're called universal expressions. So the next one we're going to look at is fear. So with fear, you're going to have your brows sort of raised, your eyes are open, and the mouth is open slightly. It's very slight, and you'll notice it's not like a big wide open or very closed and pierced. And you'll see it again here. This one is a little bit different. The mouth is a little bit different. Sometimes you'll see a unilateral side of one side dropping, one side raised, but you see the same sort of facial expression. It's like the brows, you have a raise to the brows, and the eyes are wide open, and that's a fearful looking face. And we come to happiness. Happiness, I feel like we don't need to explain. It's very easy to recognize. You've got raise and lowering of the corners of the mouth. Some people smile down, some people smile up. That's why. And you'll see those crow's feet, the squinting of the eyes, and you'll see the raising of the cheeks. And here's another example. Here's a more standard textbook looking example of what happiness looks like. Your widened eyes, your raised cheeks. This one's another upward smile, and there's happiness. Sadness makes me so sad. It's up next, and it's so obvious. And when you see it, you'll be like, yeah, I know that. I've seen that a million times, but it's hard to look at. So you'll see the brows do raise in the middle with sadness. The arch is in the middle. The eyes are open wide. You're going to see raised inner brows, and lowering of the mouth corners on the edges. And again, you'll see some nasolabial folds again, because the frown, the lowering of the mouth corners, will bring those facial expressions down and droop. And here's another example of that. This guy's got not as prominent labial folds, but you do see the cheeks pulling down because the mouth is frowning down, but you do see those brow ridges in the middle. That brow ridge is raised towards the center, and that's going to be your most expressive feature when you're looking for a sadness feature in somebody's expression. Okay, guys, so now that you have some understanding of the 6 universal expressions, we're going to get into the very most exciting part, and that is micro expressions. So you'll have to excuse me. I'm going between one of my old notebooks, a textbook, and some notes that I have made, as well as off the top of my head. So I might be like looking down, looking up, looking down, looking up, but I'm just trying to pull in all my information so I can like kind of capsulate this for you, so it's utilizable for you, so you can utilize it, and it's something that's beneficial and not just a lot of verbal diarrhea for you that you can't use. So first of all, you understand the 6 universal expressions. People can intentionally try and put those on, okay? So you can't fake them when you feel them, but you can try and emulate them. So for instance, you'll see people try and look sad, or you'll see people try and cry. But when they look sad, they'll frown. They don't know to raise their eyebrows together, and they don't know that they need to raise that brow ridge when they're looking sad. There's things they can't cover, and there's things they can't fake. Okay, so that's why I said expressions, universal expressions, they're impossible to fake. People will try, but they're impossible. Now, micro expressions, even there's no hope. They're in a fraction of a second. So for example, a normal expression will last about half a second. Okay, a micro expression lasts 1/15th to 1/25th of a second. That's how quick it is. So, and that's why a lot of interviews with the police are recorded and video recorded, so they can be gone back over, and you can slow them down and look for the micro expressions and what's being said at the time when these micro expressions are occurring, because that's how you determine what someone's really saying and what message they're actually conveying, as opposed to the words that are coming out of their mouth. Words are important, but they're more important in conjunction with the micro expressions that are happening across their face. Sorry, a big huge cat just jumped up beside me and shook the world. But So micro expressions are very, very brief flashes of expression that are very hard to notice, okay? So they happen when someone experiences an emotion but represses their true feelings, okay? So it's an experience, they feel it, they feel the emotion, but they try and cover it up really quick, and that's why it's a flash. That's why it's 1/15th or 1/25th of a second, because they cover it up really quickly. As soon as they're conscious of it, it's gone, okay? And consciousness happens very quickly. But through their face, you'll still see small flashes or a hint of their expression. So for instance, I'm going to show you a chart with some micro expressions really quickly right now in 1 second. And then I'll show you a couple pictures of my favorite one, which is contempt. Now, contempt is, sorry, there's like a little fruit fly, very weird. Anyways, contempt, this is how quick it happens. That's it. That's it. That's your micro expression. So someone could be talking like that, done. In the middle of my sentence, there was contempt right there. I'll do it again. Like, here I am talking to you, telling you about how my day went, and it was fine. It was a great day. Contempt, like 4 times right there. I just did it. And that's how quick it happens. And most people will only do it once. So you get one shot at the gun here to catch it. So that's why it's important to pay very close attention to someone's face and look them in the eye when they're talking to you. If you have questions and you want answers from them, don't be just listening to their words. Be looking at their face and concentrating on their face and what their face is doing, as well as listening to not what they're telling you, but how they're telling you. And I'll get into that next. But first, I'm going to show you a couple pictures. I'll show you one picture with a chart of just some basic micro expressions. And then I'll show you 2 pictures of contempt so you can see it in a frozen motion. So take a quick peek at this. So here's your chart of micro expressions. If you're interested in this, I would screenshot it so you can blow it up and take a quick look. It's pretty cool. Here is a very exaggerated image of contempt so you can see it. But again, this happens in 1/25th of a second. And here is a more realistic image of what contempt's going to look like. And you see the gentleman looks like he's smiling. He looks relaxed, but that is a face of contempt right there. Okay, so now you've seen that, you have an idea of, for an example of a micro expression of contempt. And the reason contempt is my favorite is because it's a very good indicator of dishonest conduct. So usually contempt, but it can be triggered by different reasons, and I'll get into that. But here we go. So be aware of micro expressions because they are very small facial expressions that we do make subconsciously. And when someone is telling a lie, you look for micro expressions such as a frown or a blink of their eyes, or a smirk of their mouth, or a flash of contempt in their face. You'll look for body changes. You'll look for a shrug of a shoulder, just one, something shifty, something uneven, usually something bilateral, but sometimes it's, bilateral. Sometimes it's, most often it's lateral, like on one side, but sometimes you'll see bilateral movements. But most of the time it's just one because it's a shifting discomfort behavior. The other thing you'll see is grooming behavior. It's like playing with your hair, or girls will rub their hands together. They'll do this sort of thing, or they do self-soothing actions. It's grooming, it's called grooming behaviors, but it's also self-soothing, okay? And this is when we get into signs of lying with regards to verbal neurolinguistics and then physical body language. So there are 5 indicators of either neuro and body language, and verbal, neuroverbal, and body language signs that someone could be lying. And these are what you're going to add to your micro expressions to indicate that somebody's being dishonest with you. So first one is being vague, offering very little detail. You'll ask them, hey, where were you tonight? And they'll be like, oh, I was at the movies with my buddies. Or, oh yeah, we went out for wings. Really? Like, where'd you go for wings? Who was there? You ask them these questions and you'll get stupid face staring back at you. Or you'll get details that won't be the same tomorrow, or details that are totally impossible and don't make sense and aren't true. And these are good indicators that they're, pause one moment. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. Slight interruption. So those are good indicators that what someone's saying to you isn't true. So first of all, very vague details. The second thing is repeating questions before answering them. So that's another big one. You'll ask a question, they're going to repeat it. And what that is obviously it's somebody buying time so they can come up with the answer to the question, right? So you've seen this a million times. You'll see it like with partners, with friends. You'll see it at work, with coworkers. Sometimes people do it subconsciously. People who are hard of hearing will do it. So you have to be mindful of that. Hard of hearing people will do it. But naturally, if somebody is being questioned and they repeat everything you ask them before they answer it, they're thinking of an answer. So that's one to watch out for. Speaking in sentence fragments. So broken sentences, they can't put a whole sentence together because they're trying to spit out little points and little facts, but they can't really string it together because they don't know the order of the facts, because the facts aren't real. The order didn't happen. The factual event didn't have a beginning and an end because it never really existed. It's a lie. So they're spewing out little features, but you're not getting a consistent straight story from beginning to end. So you'll get fragments. Failing to provide specific details when a story is challenged. So like I said before, where did you go out for wings? Oh, I don't know, the restaurant downtown. That's where we went. Oh, you know that place we went before? Or where did, where was your meeting? Oh, just at a place in the city, or a place in Toronto. Like, don't call me stupid to my face. Anyway, I'm kidding. Something like this on its own doesn't mean somebody's lying. And I'm just about done this video, and I'm going to explain to you why it all works together, how it all works together. And then it gets to the grooming behavior, such as playing with your hair or pressing your fingers to your lips. You'll see people go like this, going like that, playing with their lips. A lot of times people will do things that will cover their face, okay? So they'll go like this, they'll cover their face like this, and this is because they're uncomfortable and they feel like they need to cover their face. It's obvious, but that's a behavior you'll often see. So into some of my notes here, and this is where it all ties together, okay? So when is it a lie? This is very important. So many signs that you can observe that are identifiable they're not always shown by everybody. So a lot of these things that we're talking about that are indicators of lies, not every liar is going to do or show you, okay? So you can't count on them 100%. They're an indicator, they're not proof, okay? So that's the other thing. And their absence doesn't mean a person's telling you the truth, but their presence also, it doesn't mean they're telling you a lie unless you start seeing multiple things together. For instance, if you see someone, a good example is if you see someone with body language, the verbal cues, and the micro expressions. So let's say they give you a fragment of a shrug and a flash of content and a vague, undetailed explanation of where they are. Those three things together, lie. Liar. Liar. Not 100%. This is a science, but as much as it's a science, it's interpreted as an art. So the behaviors are scientifically based, but the interpretation of it is an art form. So you have to get good at it. You have to know who you're reading, and you have to have a lot of experience reading people to be able to make it useful and to be able to utilize it. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you can practice this and you can learn it and do some research on it. And if you really are interested, don't Google it. Look up journal articles. I always tell you, look up peer-reviewed journal articles from published journals. And these are academic journals I'm talking about, not like people's like diaries. Like these are academic journals of information, and they're peer-reviewed, evidence-based information. Don't Google shit because you're going to get all the wrong kind of crap. And this, you really want to get evidence-based information, you can learn about this, you can do this, you can use it at work, you can use it in your daily life. So proceed with caution in situations that are distinguishing signs of lying from actual truthful statements are in focus. You need to be very, very careful of two common mistakes. The first is the absence of microexpressions, like the absence of gestural slips, doesn't prove that a person is telling the truth, because not all liars show all these signs, okay? Not every liar is gonna show microexpressions. Most people do. They can't control it if they're going to, but not everybody. Like, some people are pathological liars and they've convinced themselves that what they're telling is the truth. So they feel no contempt. They feel no anger about being questioned because they believe they're telling the truth, because they're that mentally ill and they're pathological liars. So you can't count on their micro expressions and their body language and their verbal and neuroverbal cues to tell you what's going on behind the scenes. And secondly, is the mistake to presume that the emotion that's being concealed is evidence that a person's lying. And when it could really be they're concealing an emotion for a different reason. They could be lying about something else that's completely irrelevant that they just don't want you to know about, okay? So, and then there's cause versus correlation, which is the most important part in all of this, okay? So when it comes to signs of lying, we need to be careful to avoid mistakenly assuming that the expression of fear is the reaction to, for instance, a woman being caught in a lie, as opposed to a woman being accused of lying for something she isn't lying about. Okay, so she could be showing fear, not because she's lying and going to get caught, but because she's afraid of being falsely accused. That is very real, and that fear is what builds up and brings on false confessions. So you have to be very careful when you're questioning somebody, how you're positioning your phrases, how you're positioning your questions. Always probe, don't question. Always ask open-ended questions. Leave room for explanation. Leave room for people to articulate and give you their own words and their own explanation and their own details and provide you with the information you're looking for. If you give them yes and no's, then it's really easy. They can lie and do whatever they want and you'll never know the difference, okay? So my last point here. Yeah, the fear of being disbelieved looks the same as the fear of being caught in a lie. It looks exactly the same. So people suspected of crime sometimes will show micro expressions of anger only because they're angry that they're being questioned, right? Anger is the result of can be the result of being under wrongful suspicion, whether it's anger towards the interviewer for trying to catch them in a lie, or whether it's anger towards the interviewer for accusing them of lying. Which is it? Why are they angry? This is the artistic part of determining what the behavior and what the micro expression means. This is the artistic part of diagnosing the science, right? So the science is your facts, it's your symptomology, and your diagnosis is an artistic side of it. So it's kind of both things. And although it appears that like this is like a huge thing, it seems very complicated, it's actually very, very simple. Look for universal expressions that aren't appropriate to what you're discussing or appropriate to time, place, and environment. Look for micro expressions that come and go and flash across somebody's face, because that means they're trying to hide something. If there's a micro expression, they're trying to hide something. It might not be something that's relevant. It might not be something that's bad. It might not be anything that has anything to do with what you really care about, but they are trying to hide something. If there's a micro expression, it means the emotion came across them and they shut it down as soon as they were consciously aware of it. But if you see that micro expression in combination with shifty body language, with self-grooming behaviors, with protective behaviors where they're covering their mouth when they talk, or they're covering their face like this when they're talking to you, and then you see it in the way they're answering, you hear it in the way they're answering their questions with broken fragmented sentences, lack of detail, lack of pointal references, so they're not able to give any specifics, that sort of stuff. Guys, if you see all these things together, you can assume that maybe there is some dishonesty going on. But assumptions can make an ass of you and me. That's the old phrase, right? So be very careful what you assume. I would never accuse anybody. I would just keep it up here and watch the next time and watch the next time and watch the next time and get to know who you're questioning and how they behave. And when you know they're telling the truth, ask them questions in the same manner. And that way you will be able to learn to read them when they're being honest for sure. And then you can compare that information and that data with how they behave when you're not sure if they're being honest. And then you compare the two and you look for differences. And that's how science works in these matters. And that's how you can scientifically analyze someone's behavior and someone's expressions and their micro expressions and their neurolinguistics and their verbal linguistics and their body language to determine if they are being honest or dishonest with you. So I hope this video was helpful. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It's lots of fun for me to talk about because it's something I love. I hope I made it clear and it's not like mumble jumble. If it is, just tell me and maybe I'll take a second swing at it and simplify it a little bit. But it makes sense to me. But I mean, I've been doing this for so many years. For me, it makes sense in my mind. It's just trying to get it out. I've explained this before, trying to get it out in a logical and in an interpretable manner is a whole different story than how I'm processing it in my brain. So I did my very best, and I hope you guys find some humor and just a good laugh or something to think about in there or something to do some research on. It's really interesting stuff to research, guys. Really fun to read. And if you get good at it, you'll use it in every aspect of your life. I promise you. Anyways, I'll see you guys soon. Hope you enjoyed.